recording and transcribe, so
So
Started.
Rob reports he's on and he's listening, but he's in another meeting, I guess.
Yeah,
He must
Yeah,
be the
Rob.
dial-in.
He's yeah.
yeah, fire department. All right, okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 7:45. I'm I'm glad we don't have much to go over this week, so shouldn't take too long. Gotta get my agenda now. So the first thing on the agenda is call to order approval of minutes. Has any, I did not forward the minutes, I'm sorry. Has everyone read them online, or do they have any questions? If not, I'll just postpone it till next meeting.
Just pass them. I mean, I've read it. I would call for a motion.
I read them also, they're fine.
Yeah, so we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, could I have a motion to approve the minutes, the minutes of March?
This is Rich Pendergast. I make a motion. We approve the minutes from the
March
last
12th.
meeting was March 12th. Thank you, Steve.
I second it. This is Randy Nixon.
Thank you. All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
I'm sorry. All in favor, I have to go in order. So Andrea,
Aye, yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Dennis.
No.
Actually, Dennis, you are not voting yet. I haven't been recognized. You're
Dennis is a regular member.
You're the
It's-
yes. You're the
Mary's the
so
alternate.
no. John, Mary, Richard,
I vote yes. to
yeah,
approve
and
the
Randy.
minutes.
Yes,
Okay, let them. Let the
Corey's on. Did Corey vote?
Corey voted. Let the
Yes,
record
I
show it
voted.
passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Next order of business is Andrea.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
this-
hold on. Is it
Right.
treasurer's
Finance.
budget update and expenses?
Okay, budget update. So our budget for the year is $61,922. Our current balance is around $51,213. During this time period, I have expenses for the clerk. I have encumbered but being processed one printing invoice. We did find one mailing invoice. We are looking to see if there's more. So that's a total of $1,225.17. We believe it should be around $2,000. We have an attorney invoice for $962. So that is our regular WPCA budget approved by the town. So again, to repeat, our current balance is $51,213, which means we spent not that much money this year so far. Now, the other news is the Clean Water Fund, the 34-202-022-20009 account. We got our first, is someone asking me a question? Okay, we got our first payment from the Clean Water Fund in the amount of $524,595, and that entire amount was remitted and paid to Woodland and Curran. We did have a few bumps in the process, so we're working on making that smoother. So the money hit March 20th, and it probably took us about 2.5 weeks to get that check out. We're going to improve that process. Let's see. I reported on the budget last time and what our new budget is. So that's all I have for the budget, unless you have some questions.
I have, I guess, questions later when we get into the next step of the design phase, but I don't think that's appropriate for now. I imagine it's going to be a discussion about when we get there, if that makes any sense. Like we're going from 90% and review doc files and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
is,
I'm not sure that's going to be part of today's meeting, is it?
well,
Okay,
what questions do you have, Rich?
Well, what's the next steps? Because that we had 60% and we've now made a payment. And from a design point of view, I guess the
Right,
next thing
so-
is they're going to
so-
go to the state, and Carlos wanted to look at
Okay.
the plans ahead of time.
Let me cover that in chairman's report.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to make sure my report is heard, accepted. Is there any questions about it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
In,
Dennis.
in the printing and the mailing,
Yes,
why
sir.
so much? Did we have to send out plans
Yeah,
or anything
so-
like that?
No, so what that's the pump out print. And we did the little card mailer for the septic reminder pump outs and that Erica's been working on that. And we think this is only about half the amount. We expected it to be $2,000. So this is the mailers that get sent to the residents. We have about 5,000 residents with septics. And we don't send all 5,000 out at one time, but this is an ongoing process. And Erica has been championing that process.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that question.
Just a quick question. This is Mary. Erica,
Sure,
in
ma'am. Oh, go
in
ahead.
regards to sending out mailers, are you using the mailing addresses that are on file with the assessor's office, or just assuming that they go to the property addresses?
We used the addresses that were on file with the assessor's office, and that process actually started before I took over. But as we've gotten any back with wrong information, we are working now to get those addresses corrected so that we have the right addresses going forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a lot of work Erica did cleaning that up. And just in case the new people don't know, we use a system called Carmody, and it's an electronic database, and we pay about $3,000 a year for that.
A question on that. I mean, I've been here since 21. I've never gotten anything, any kind of a mailer.
You will. The mailers
Well,
are new this year.
If you pump out your
Alright.
system within 5 years, you're not going to get
Okay.
one.
Yeah,
All right. Okay,
your
thank you.
your pump out haulers are supposed to update the data. It's a reminder if you have not
It's-
compliant.
It's a reminder of those people that are overdue. And you're right that we probably should do this every year, and it probably
Yeah.
shouldn't be the same people.
Right.
I know some people that got it and didn't re-understand, which is perfect because now they're going to pump out their system.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, John. Any other questions? All right, I was happy to answer them. We'll try to have something projected next month. We'll get better at this.
Yeah, so, right,
All right,
the
so what's
next item on the agenda is the chairman's report. And I'm gonna pick up where Andrew just left off. I got an email at, I don't know, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock tonight with the updated budget from last month. That's why we don't have anything to present, because we don't have the data from the town to accurately place paid, unpaid, encumbered in the right columns. So I'll talk to Martha and see if we can run this report. It's a townwide report. a little earlier. We used to get it earlier than we do now. Because
Yeah,
I
we
used,
used to get,
right, when I was treasurer, I used to have the information for the meeting, so. I'm sure it can be done. It's
it
just
is late this month.
probably a matter of scheduling, that's all. All right, so, on the chairman report, bring you up to date, as Andrea said, Woodward and Curran has been paid their, 60%. They've actually been paid, as you, if you remember, close to 80% of their total quote to us. But it's the 60% bill that the 60% plans that were paid up to. I spoke with Jason last month. He said he would start working on doing the 90%, and they've got a lot of that. I think I showed you the plans or indicated that they have a lot of the 90% plans completed. I reviewed them, the ones that he sent me, which aren't officially 90, but more than the 60. And so I would imagine that's going to be turned around. He said 60 days. Maybe they can do it quicker. After we get those, they'll give us those plans to review. I'll set like 30 days for anyone to review them. They'll go back. And they do not, I was surprised. They don't have to be reviewed by Carlos. The last set is the 100%. Those do have to be reviewed by the DEEP. And so we're looking at a minimum of 60, 60, and 30. So that's let's see, 60, 60, 150 days from, let's say, today, that we could probably get the plans to the DEP for review.
Hey, Steve,
Yes.
This might be obsolete information that I have. Is Carlos had asked for an advance because he thought the final plans and the plans that we have would not change that much and would give him more time to do the review to fit in his schedule. I don't know if that's still accurate or not. And we did decline to give him the plans because we hadn't paid Wood and Curran. Well, Wood and Curran declined to give him the plans.
It's a different story.
Yeah.
We can, but there's a lot of changes.
Okay.
From 60. So if Carlos wants more time, I'm certainly more than willing to give him the 90 so he can start reviewing then.
I think it may be worthwhile checking with him because
Sure.
I don't know if he wants more time. He's going to take time, and this might help speed up the process.
Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of what he was trying to explain to me, I think. But, you know, that was a while ago, so I don't know. Maybe you just send him an email and ask him.
I
See
will
how it
definitely
goes.
do that. I appreciate that.
Or designate someone to do it.
So I appreciate that. I will ask Carlos if he wants to see a set of plans and get them to him. The 60s, I wouldn't send him the ones that we have. I mean, there's some changes. I mean, some major changes. You know,
Okay.
one of my comments to Jason was, you know, you have us digging pretty deep for a long stretch of thing and then dropping it. Why don't you keep the same slope and then drop it at the manhole right before? He said, yeah, we picked up on that. We changed it already. That was part of the plans that he sent me. So, you know,
That just saved a lot of money right there.
yeah, I mean, it's shallower it is, the better you are. So I thank you very much. I'll send Carlos an email and see if he wants the next set, which would be like 90, which would give him almost, those plans will be almost 100% at that point. So I spoke with East Line, and I don't have official approval, but I do have verbal that the town engineer put forth the WPCA and is recommending that we use East Line, the trench, Point of Woods' trench that East Line took over when they hooked up to the East Line. So that's good news because it ensures we at least won't hit ledge.
Yeah, that saves some money too, or
Yeah.
risk.
Big
Um,
time. That's great.
So, and that goes from, they own, I think, from the liquor store on the top of 156. Even further over. Because we have to cross a bridge. That's, well, in any event, that trench we'd be able to use as far as I know. I spoke with Will at the chairman of the Point of Woods WPCA. They're waiting to hear back from their attorney on whether we can use their trench. And I don't think they have a philosophical problem with it. They're checking it. It's a right of way granted by the state. It's not a right of way. It's not, I mean, it's their right of way, but it's granted by the state. So I think their attorney's looking in to the state to see if there's a problem with that. If they are allowed, if we are allowed to use that, that could save quite a bit of money because we may have the opportunity to directionally bore and not dig up the road nearly as much. Sometimes they can bore up to 1,000, 2,000 feet, depending on releases and all that other stuff. So New London has not formally replied on their IMA agreement with us. They asked for some more information, which does not give me a very good feeling, because they're looking at RDUs and I don't know what they're doing. However, Scott Bollinger sent them all the information that they wanted. He's been on top of them. They just have not replied. I think they're close because they're doing budgeting now. So hold on, it may be not as good news as we were originally led to believe.
What was the initials you used besides the IMA?
RDUs.
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 Resident dwelling units? What
Yeah.
are RDUs? Is that like an EDU?
Yeah,
Oh, did I
But-
say RDU?
you did.
You
It's
said
it's an
RDU.
I'm sorry, EDU.
Okay, thank you. I thought there was
It,
something. else.
it's really kind of a weird thing if you don't mind me talking, Steve, because the EDUs, RDUs equates to kind of a calculation of volume. We have a contract based on volume. So it's like, it's like talking about currency or something. I don't know. It's a very strange thing. If we have a contract of 50,000 gallons, it's 50,000 gallons. It doesn't matter how many EDUs you have. We could have one that does 50,000 or you have 50,000 that do one.
Right. Scott,
you know.
Scott actually asked what he should do. I said, well, just send him the information. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Our contract's not based on RDUs. I have a feeling I know why they want the RDUs, but
They're trying to argue that we're going to use more than we need or
No.
something like that.
Well,
Well, don't get into it if you don't feel it's
yeah,
right.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I know. That's why I'm not as hopeful as I was this meeting is last. Let's see. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to a meeting with the beach associations and Fuss and O'Neill, and specifically to answer some of my questions to the beach associations as well as some of the beach associations. The bioxide system is going to stay where it's designed right now. It's not going to move. It has to do, believe it or not, it has to do with permitting from the town of Old Lyme. They had a hard time getting it. They were asked to have the pump station as small a footprint as possible. They said it's probably not worth their time and effort to try to get it changed. Though they did indicate that at the pump station going into the wet well would have been their preference. Because it will control odors, but, there's certain things that you have to pick your battles. I don't think this is one that, we should try to do all over. But also at that meeting, we discussed, individual WPCA meters versus individual meters from the house. And it was decided that there's a substantial savings if you use individual meters to the house. And reluctantly, well, everyone agreed to that proposal. So the central meters for Miami Beach, Oline Shores, Old Colony, and Soundview are going to be removed from the design. That will allow. So it's not just the cost of the meters. There are redundant lines being laid in the shared plans because one house can't dump into a line that's going in front of their house because it didn't belong to the beach association. This will also, I think, affect us because it would allow us to remove the pump stations, the individual pump stations for our residents, because there is a line going, I believe there's a line going past there, but it wasn't ours. It was Miami Beaches or Oline Shores. We should be able to hook into that line now because each of the houses will be metered. So that is good news. We could get rid of our pump stations.
How are they
Steve?
gonna meter the houses that have wells?
We'll put a meter on it.
So are we talking about a water meter or are we talking about an effluent meter?
No, we're talking water. We're talking
Okay.
water meters. It's a common, Fuss and O'Neill said it's common practice. I mean, we're not the first ones to think of this. They said the majority of towns that have water and sewer base their sewage flow off of a percentage of the water.
Are we using existing Connecticut water meters?
Yeah, we'll use existing Connecticut water meters, and those that have wells will install a meter. There aren't
Okay.
many people that have wells down there.
Yeah, there's not in our project. You're right.
Right, at least in ours. I think
Miami
Miami
has-
Beach has the bulk of them, but
Miami has them, yeah.
can you all hear me still?
Yes,
Okay,
Dimitri just joined us.
I see. Hello, Dimitri. Dimitri joined at 8:08. Did you have problems? Unmute yourself.
Dimitri, can you unmute yourself? You have to click on the microphone. There's a little microphone by your name. Dimitri. You see it?
You see
There's a little microphone right by your name. Or it could be on the top. Do you see on
Should
the
be on
top?
if you hover at the bottom of the screen, Dimitri.
Katie, can you unmute him?
Yeah, I have mine in two different places.
There's also a microphone in the top right.
Now,
with the down
Dimitri.
arrow.
Right.
Top right in the top right hand.
See where the red leaf button is? Two to the left of
I
that.
think I did it. Dimitri, can you sing us a song?
it.
You know what? He is a. Go ahead, Dimitri. Say something.
No,
Yeah,
can't
you
hear
still
you.
got a mark. You're
Just-
blocked. Maybe you might be blocked by the internet.
Yeah, he's got something by his there. He's
blocked.
crossed out.
Are there 3 dots on your screen anywhere? Where it says more or something? Or is there a picture of a microphone at the top of the screen? Maybe 2 over from a big button that says leave in red.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Um,
There you go.
All right.
Never mind.
Hey,
Steve, I was just gonna say, if you're using water, again, I went through this issue years ago, 30 years ago in Philadelphia on water, and it was all monitored on water. But a lot of people also were gardeners, and we had two separate water meters. One for outside water and one for inside water. So that's just an FYI.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
But you could do it if you wanted to put in a second
Well,
meter.
people that were big gardeners were opposed to things, and they didn't want to pay for it. So
Right, they
So
didn't
no.
want to pay for the affluent that they're not using.
Right.
I
they
understand.
were using, yes.
But in this case, they're not
Yeah.
gonna, I don't think they're gonna get a bill saying you use so much sewer water, you're getting this, they're gonna get assessment, but what we're using it for is we have an obligation with the Waterford, or not Waterford, East Lyme, New London. So we have that obligation, this is total effluent, and then we
Well-
have the obligation between the three other beaches to see that we're not overdoing our equity.
Right. It's more on the three beach associations. They
Yeah,
will,
that's
I'm
right.
sorry. There will be an effluent meter out of the pump station that will meter all the flow going to East Lyme and New London. So it's really between us. And we have to discuss how we're gonna bill our customers, but I assume how we're going to bill them is there'll be a formula that's going to take a total percentage of water usage relative to what's being pumped out. There's 100%, you got 1 million gallons being used, 900,000 are being pumped to things. So that means 90% of each association's water. I don't know the exact formula.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be discussed with the beach associations. So our next beach association meeting is April 16th, next Tuesday. And one of the things on the agenda is to have a more structured group with minutes being taken and agendas, and I think that we're going to try to tackle, I mean, there's a whole list of things that we have to do, but I think we're going to try to tackle one or two things every time we meet. I proposed to the chairs that we meet in the middle of our group meetings to discuss the next minutes or the next meeting's agenda and go over some of the items that we want to resolve. I think that most of the people on the committee or the beach associations are, number one, tired because they've been doing this for so long, and two, want to see some more structure. So I think that that's gonna go a long way towards working together to try to come up with some holistic ways of determining usage. So that's it for my chairman's report. Are there any other questions?
Yeah,
I
this
have
is
a
Brad. Just out of curiosity, what about the seasonal to non-seasonal? I mean, because it seems like the beaches are turning the homes over more to more seasonal all year as opposed to just the summer. Does that make a difference, and how's that formulated?
Yeah, that would make a difference, Brad. That's a good point. There probably will have to be a seasonal, non-seasonal, or maybe you just have a set formula where you get the stuff from the meter and charge 90% of whatever the meter is. The meter reading or whatever percentage it is.
May I say something?
Sure, Dimitri.
There is no more seasonal use on a zoning. And after a sewer is gonna come, most houses who are used for seasonal now will become year round.
That's
I don't think we need to consider that at all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, we haven't discussed this. We haven't discussed this. If we want to discuss this, we can on another meeting. I'll put it on the agenda. I think it's a little too soon to be discussing this. And I think that maybe the first step would be to get some ideas from everyone on how they feel we should propose billing our customers and then work from there. I don't really want to brainstorm at a meeting.
And I want to say something more.
I'd like to
Sure.
say something after the two, so go ahead.
Yeah,
Many houses, as I know, are year round, and people use them as seasonal too. So it's their choice, and this is not supposed to be considered because people can tell you they're seasonal and they use them year round. People can say they're year round, they use them for seasonal. So after only one thing is providing stop to change houses, they are not winterized. And after sewer comes, they can winterize them and they will become year round by statute.
okay.
What I like to say is we have discussed this in the past, or at least I've discussed this in the past. You look at a customer or a resident and the capital amount is like 15 to 20 grand. If you just assume that that's what it is to install this, and $300 to $600 annual sewer fee, that $300 to $600 is what's processing the effluent. So unless you're talking about, well, I only use my house a couple times a year, therefore I don't have to pay $20,000. I can only pay $5,000. That is a no-brainer as a huge problem. And then the 300 to 600, some places do that, but it's a nightmare because you're looking at the past to build the future. So we have a pricing structure that's set out. We haven't got to the final figures. And as Steve, you suggested, we go to bid and we have actual estimates replaced with actual quotes. We have this meeting and refresh all the costs, and that's the perfect time to have this kind of discussion. But
So
you might
Rich,
be able to see better what the big amount of money is versus the little bit amount of money is.
yeah, I'm talking only, at least I was talking only about usage costs at that point, not installment costs, not capital costs.
Okay.
I was just referring to usage costs. How are we going to determine usage costs for the?
And that's what I was asking.
For everyone.
Which typically is the 300 to 600 per year, and in that 300
Right,
to 600 is future costs, rainy day funds, as
Right.
well as the usage.
Right. All, yes, we have to budget, and we have to determine, I guess what we have to do is determine how we're going to bill our customers.
Yeah.
If someone
So-
uses their house twice a year, should they be paying as much as someone that lives there year round?
Okay, can I just say something? This is Mary. I would suggest you mirror what MDC does today because they've had years and years and years of experience doing billing of this nature. And they use the meters. It should be based on volume usage. I'm not sure what any other factor would come in. I'm sure MDC doesn't care who's in their house 6 months and who's in Florida.
Correct.
It's all the same. It's based on usage. It's based on volume, and it should be one set price for the volume for all the houses across all the areas. But that's my opinion. And also my other question, if I could please, in regard to the build and the plans, what's going on with Hawk's Nest? Are you building into the plans right now pipes for Hawk's Nest or not?
There has always been capacity in our system to have Hawk's Nest come in at a later date if they need to.
And who would be billed for that capacity?
Hawk's Nest.
Hawk's Nest.
But at this point, in terms of the design, if you do go forward with this, for those particular pipes, are you not going to put them in the ground? You're not going to buy them at this point? There'll be no
No.
digging, no implementation at all?
Absolutely correct.
Okay,
There's
thank you.
there's no unnecessary pipe being placed in our system. As a matter of fact, if Hawk Nest does ever hook up, they would probably go into a manhole, not a pipe. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. And Mary, you're absolutely right. MDC does do by volume. They have an advantage. They own the water also. However, Waterford does a set fee. I lived in Waterford for years. They did a set fee based on everyone. So I think that if it's not a difficult task and we can get the information from Connecticut Water, probably a percentage of their water bill is the way to go. That way, if you use your thing 2 weeks, you get billed for 2 weeks. If you use it year round, you get billed year round. And then, of course, there's the other ancillaries like a rainy day fund, maintenance, there's some other costs that go into the billing besides usage, but it would all be based on usage. So.
Great. So I guess I'm a little confused why you would use Connecticut water meters when you just said you were going to install individual meters per household.
Right.
I'm
I didn't
confused.
say that. I said we would install individual meters for those people that have wells
Okay.
that don't have Connecticut water meters.
that don't have Connecticut water.
Okay, but in essence, the usage will be based on metered usage, whether it's
That's not
Connecticut water,
decided yet.
sewer.
That we haven't decided that, but I mean, I believe, we are going to use, we meaning the 4 WPCAs are going to use metered water going into the house as a basis for usage between the 4 WPCAs.
So maybe it's not obvious, but this scenario is what the other WPCAs may have said in the past. Well, hey, how come you guys are using more water than us? You need to pay more. Or the opposite. You guys aren't using any water. Maybe you need to pay less of the maintenance fees, not the capital.
Exactly.
So that's the whole scenario. And everyone thinks everyone else is going to use more water.
Exactly.
And,
I don't. I think everyone's going to use less water than estimated, but that's.
Oh
my
yeah,
opinion.
our estimates are way, the max we have is way more than we'll need.
I don't know if Connecticut Water could supply the maximum. We've been having trouble with supply.
Right. So, in any event, I will put this discussion on the next agenda. And I'll send out an email asking, and I'll discuss any person's ideas that they send me between now and the next meeting. If no one has any ideas on how to do this, then we'll just put it off until we get some ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Discuss it. Okay.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. I think you're up, Mary. Hold on.
Oh, sure, great.
Are there any other questions, comments?
I have a quick question, Steve.
Sure.
This is Corey.
Yep.
You've discussed doing sharing the trench. Has there been any mention of separation? What are we doing when we get to structures? Any comment on that?
Oh, well, the first thing, yes, there has been, Corey, by East Line. They want a separation of 24 inches.
Well, that's not bad.
No, that's pretty good. As far as structures, they definitely do not want us using the same manhole from the high point, which is around the Divine Wines, down to their pump station, because they want to individually monitor dioxide, actually hydrogen sulfate levels. So
yep.
That I know we won't be able to do, but we would be able to go back into their trench.
Well, that's good. So as long as we're 24 inches off the side of everything, we're fine?
Yeah, and I think I can get that 24 center, which would be even better.
That's great. Yeah, okay,
yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
Steve, has there been any thought as to that pipe hanging under the bridge
Oh, yeah, there's thought to
during
that.
winter time, during winter?
Yeah, well, usually Dennis, Point of Woods' pipe, is buried underneath a river there, or the stream. Our pipe is gonna be hung, and it will be, insulated. You know, that whole pipe will be insulated so that it doesn't freeze, hopefully.
And does Point of Woods have a bioxide plant for
Oh, yeah,
themselves?
they have a dioxide.
They do
Yeah,
now.
okay.
They, they do, and they spend quite a bit of money, on dioxide. So, it's, I've asked, they spend a decent amount of money. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, it's broken out, but, I would not be surprised if we have, $30,000 or $40,000 dioxide bill for just, Soundview. Depending on what the levels are, depends on what the hydrogen sulfide is. But any other questions?
Plus, they have 400 homes compared to the 3 private beaches in Soundview. I mean, they've got 443 houses there.
Right, and most of them, well, I shouldn't say most of them, a lot of them now are year round, but, all right,
Your sulfide, this is Randy, your hydrogen sulfide levels are gonna go up based on transit time, primarily in temperature in this case. So those are the 2 big factors. So in the summer, the levels will be higher, and the longer the transit time, the higher the sulfide production will be in the pipeline. And then however much turbulence there is at areas of stripping, that's where your sulfide gets liberated. So.
all right.
Yeah.
Right, so now we're into new business, and for new business, there are 2 new committees that were formed. One is the invoice committee, which I don't think has even met. That's to deal with, that's to deal with,
We had a couple emails. There was no
Yeah.
need to meet.
there's no meeting. And then the other committee is the one for, alternate methods besides sewers. And I'm going to assume, because I was never notified, but I'm going to assume that Mary is the chair of that.
Okay,
Well, is that true?
well, I wrote the minutes, but we all contributed to the thoughts that went into the minutes.
Did you
So-
elect a chair?
No,
Don't have
we're,
to.
okay, we'll do that at our next meeting if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, there should be someone that chairs the meeting, as well as someone that takes minutes.
Right, thank you. So.
All right,
we-
so who's going to present tonight?
Well, I'll start, and then I think Dennis and John will add, if that's okay, if that's acceptable.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So our little subgroup, whether it's a subcommittee or a study group, our subgroup to research alternative systems, we met on March 7th, and in attendance was Dennis, myself, John Flick, and of course, Dimitri declined. The agenda was to recap the history of the WPCA and how we got to where we are today, and to define a mission statement for this subgroup. So our mission statement is that for this study group is to research alternatives to sewers for the 158 properties in Soundview and the 41 properties in Area B. Its focus is these properties only and will not therefore address solutions for the private beach associations, Hall Road, or Rogers Lake. The Hawks Nest community is not part of this effort either, since there is still outstanding test data that needs to be reviewed before any recommendations may be made in regard to that community. We want to say that over the past 7 years, from 2017 to 2023, the Connecticut Department of Health has tested Soundview from Old Lyme 105 times, and with one or two exceptions in the course of that time, has reported no significant pollution. The 2023 Connecticut EPA list of impaired waters does report that there are several waterways that pollute Long Island Sound, but in Old Lyme, only 3 were identified: Duck River, Lieutenant River, and at the mouth of the Connecticut River. None of these waterways border Soundview or Area B. This study group, therefore, will concentrate on groundwater pollution only. We met again on April 3rd, and in attendance was Dennis Maluzzo, Mary Daly, and John Flick. The agenda on that day was to define the problem, and that are all properties, since we're looking at alternative systems, are all properties in the Soundview Area B polluting, and what has changed since the initial data collected in 1998. Looking closer at the initial 1998 to 2013 test data, it appears that not all of the 6 test wells recorded nitrogen, etc., indicating pollution, but rather only 2. One of those wells is located in a town parking lot, aka Swan Lake, or as some of the longer timers call it, Swamp Lake. The other on Harvard Avenue is in the vicinity of a few properties that have been cited for septic violations, but have since been torn down and are now just open lots. A few other older properties that are suspected to have cesspool issues are now vacant and boarded up. There have also been several upgrades and repairs as required by the State Health Department or as part of the real estate agreements. We believe that this community has changed significantly since 1998. All the experts we have spoke with so far agree that the first step in identifying suitable individual property solutions is new test data. And all agree that the test data from 1998 to 2013 severely outdated. As a follow-up to the April 3rd meeting, Dennis would research test requirements and costs. And our next meeting date will be determined and shared with whoever is interested, or we'll put it out there anyway. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dennis now to speak about what his research came up with for test requirements and costs. Dennis.
Can we ask a couple questions on yours,
Sure.
Mary? Who were the experts that you reached out to?
Well, I'll let Dennis talk on that issue. But we have been talking with, of course, the State Health Department, the EPA. We can give you the documents if you like on that.
Mary, I have a question.
Sure.
Before you go too far into this, do you know how pollution is defined in the state?
I only went by what was reported in the reports.
Okay, so the definition of pollution, in a state statute, the DEEP are the people that determine whether you are polluting or not. Are you aware of that?
I believe that I know that DEP has some jurisdiction, yes.
No, they have
do.
all the jurisdiction,
Well, I
not
think
some.
the health department has some of it as well.
No, they have for
No.
septic and wells. So we have a consent order. That's what happened.
So the DEP.
We have an administrative order.
We have an
We have it-
administrative order.
We have an
don't have a-
administrative order.
The private beach associations have the consent order.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
the administration order, consent orders, they have the same effect. We
No,
didn't
they-
agree to it. The consent order, the beaches wanted to do it.
So I guess what I'm saying is the DEP has determined that we're polluting.
Steve, you asked us to take this project
Well,
on.
I asked you to find alternate methods to sewer. And I'm not asking you to fight over whether we're polluting or not. That's already a given, that the Department of Environmental Protection has determined that we're polluting. So we're not going to retest.
There's no
or-
scientific evidence, Steve, that we're polluting in Soundview. That's the issue.
No.
The
Dennis,
test data
Dennis.
is 13 years
That's
old.
not the issue.
Dennis, that whether there's scientific evidence or not, isn't following statute. The statute provides the DEP sole authority on determining whether we're polluting or not. And if they find we're polluting, we have to come up with a solution. So the testing, which we've already done several times, does indicate that there are some levels of pollution. However, it doesn't matter what the tests show because the DEP has determined it.
Of what
Okay.
pollution?
I think they determined it in 1998, 2013. What we're saying
Correct.
is the environment has changed significantly since that time. This is what you asked us to research, and this is how it has
No,
to.
I asked you
No.
to research alternate methods to sewering.
This is
not-
how it has to
You
be
have,
done.
you have to have a basis to start. If there's no nitrogen level in the soil, then you can't chase a nitrogen problem. And that's one of the things DEEP was looking at, was nitrogen and ammonia.
That's
Alright,
not
so-
exactly
and
true.
that-
Dennis Greasy's got there and he said, I decide in the DEP. And he said a
And
reasonable
Dennis Greasy
engineer,
isn't there anymore.
but he said it, he explained it to us, and then we got the administration order. And when we had a meeting with the DEEP and Oldham Shores said, we don't want to do this, we want to do retesting. They said, we're not interested in retesting. So
Well,
you've gone and asked the
I
DEEP
have been in
before and they said
discussion
no.
with Deep Water Quality, the Department of Health, who is involved extremely with less than 9,000 gallons a day. Usually between 2,000 and 7,000 gallons is normal. If we can't check what the nitrogen levels are, we need a ground-proof study, plain and simple, on 6 wells, not 12 that were over at Hawk's Nest, but 6. So
But
I'm asking for a motion to allocate $20,000 approximately to test those 6 wells for the next year.
Is there a second?
You can't vote.
Where do you get the $20,000? Like,
Cost
what-
Right
us
now-
$45,000 to test Hawk's Nest, and you haven't done anything with it.
Right now, we're
you
in the
have a-
motion.
do you
We're in the
have
middle
a-
of a motion, people. Let's remember
No,
the
no, we
process.
only
There's a
have the
discussion
one up.
after the second.
Andrea,
Okay, we have, we
Andrea,
don't have a
I just need
second.
is there a second to Dennis's motion? Not hearing a second, the motion's denied.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I've already contacted On-Site Water Treatment Recycling Association, which handles alternate systems and regular on-site systems. They're more than happy to come down here and show what they have. I have been in contact with Advantech in Warwick. They have an on-site system that regurgitates the nitrogen back into the system. And then whatever is left is expelled into the air, which dissipates.
So Dennis,
So,
is that
I
that like an
have those
alternative?
if you want to
So
look at.
Dennis, and Mary and John, the maybe I wasn't clear in what I felt my instructions were. So I'm going to give you formal instructions. The instructions I thought I gave were to investigate alternate methods that would be accepted by the Connecticut DEEP.
That is true.
Not just any alternate method, but one that's acceptable to the Connecticut DEP.
You know, just to back up a quick second, because there's still data hanging out there from Hawks Nest. When you say that the deep said this in 1998 or whenever they declared we were polluting, they've since backed off on that for Hawks Nest, haven't they? Based on
No,
the recent
no, they
data.
haven't.
Not at all.
They have not.
Well, when I looked at it, they're now considered a moderate needs versus high needs, similar to White
No.
Sands.
I don't know. That's not true. And I'll tell you something. The deep said Hawks Nest will be sewered.
Yeah, I mean, the there is a reason why DEP agreed to Hawks Nest further study, but
and that
they've
was-
already determined they're polluting, and they don't care about our tests.
I guess I
telling
don't
you.
understand why they agreed to spend, or the town agreed to spend with DEP 48,000 to retest if no one's ever going to look at that. If there's already a pre-made decision on Hawks Nest, why did you spend $48,000?
The decision was made after the test results came in. And it was not formal, it was informal. It was a comment in a meeting.
So
somebody
so
analyzed the data.
Mary, we're not talking about Hawks Nest. We're
Well,
talking about Sound View. We're
I
not.
understand that. I understand that.
Okay,
But again,
so
this is
you have to assume, you have to take certain things at face value. You have to assume that we're polluting. And I say that because the DEP has determined that. We're not going to fight the DEP on whether we're polluting or not. By state statute, they can say you are, and you are. It's by law. They have modeling, they have scientific data. I don't think they're going around telling people they're polluting that they don't think are. However, they could. I guess is by state statute, they could determine someone is polluting and they would have to do something about it. Whether they are or aren't is not in the statute. I mean, I'm sure if they aren't polluting and there's enough test data that you could go to the court and say we're not polluting and we're being but in this case there is test data that shows that we do have high levels of pollutants in that area. The DEP has determined we're polluting. So I want you to start with that. Why would you propose any other system if we aren't polluting?
I think because the experts that we have been reaching out to, that's the first thing they say to us, you need to retest.
Right. So
Excuse me
The
1 minute,
test
Steve.
data is not valid anymore. The
Randy,
test
Sorry,
data
go
is
ahead.
not valid because of
So
time.
can I make a
No,
suggestion?
I recognize Randy.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have to go. I have to leave for a meeting, so
Okay.
I apologize. I hope I'm not going to miss anything that we're voting on that's crucial.
I don't think you'll be missing anything we're voting on.
Okay, well, thank you all, and I wish
Thank
you
you.
all a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. All right, Andrea?
I think we have to be a little bit careful about if we have experts that are saying something, we got to get it in writing, Mary and Dennis and John, because they're speaking against one state agency to another state agency. And we have an administrative order. So that's highly unlikely, something that's going to be said in conversation. If you press them for, a document and data that will, I mean, that's unusual that one state agency would contradict another. The other thing that I don't, well, I'm just gonna say but the other thing, I mean, what are we gonna do with that? The other thing that I heard that there's a community out in Mystic, and I don't know anything about this, except that, are you familiar with Ender's Island? I heard that they have an alternative system that's just going in that was approved by DEEP. Maybe you want to find out what that is.
Well, Andrea, the
We've
key
been
there is
in
island.
contact with
I know, but they're looking at systems, right? And that's
engineers that deal with Connecticut on-site systems alternatives. Just
Yeah.
what you guys asked us to do.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
that's new
And-
information
and-
that Deep approved. Maybe you want to find out what that is. I don't know the answer.
So Dennis, did we, so I don't know. I don't
Speak.
think we asked you to ask for more testing. I think we asked you to provide other alternatives besides sewers. With the assumption that something has to be done.
Correct.
All right, so there is no more need for testing because we've all agreed that something has to be done.
Reluctantly. And Rob's, can't talk, but he mentioned a good point that when the results come in, it's not like I pollute a little bit, it's okay. Any indication of pollution above background levels means a test positive, which means there's a problem. That supports Deep's case.
Yeah.
I wish we could say we're not, polluting and have something else, but we don't. So the focus, I thought, should be on alternative systems, and we come up with different systems than a sewer, and then compare the costs, and then compare how it affects the whole project. Because that's the other thing that we can't do, is we can't do like, well, we can fix 10 houses, but not the
Right.
other 300 houses.
Right, it also
Yeah.
has to be the least cost per person. And some of the systems that have been installed in Old Saybrook were $90,000 a home.
Yeah, they're crazy.
So,
Yeah.
$90,000 a home, and they use Connecticut water funds to help subsidize that. The town of Old Saybrook kicked in, and the homeowner kicked in.
right,
Yeah.
but why would we go with a $90,000 solution when we can
You're
get
making
homes
an
done for?
assumption it's a $90,000. That could have been the shopping center. Who knows?
Right, okay, all right, so listen, I guess then as chairman, I'm going to ask that your group focus on presenting DEE approved alternate systems besides sewers,
Fine,
okay?
because I already got that,
All right, I don't, so,
and I'll give
I-
it to you after the next report.
okay, thank you.
We're just telling you, Frank, that what we heard in researching it from everyone is that you need to retest.
All
But
right,
if you
so
don't
Mary,
hear that, then
Mary,
you don't want that. I'm saying, let me talk. If you don't want to hear that, you don't want to hear that. But that is what we're hearing. You need to retest. Thank you.
so you're welcome. I'll tell you what, so that game can be played so long. It was tested in 98, it was tested in 2013. These projects take a long time to develop. And so you could go back every 10 years and say, it's changed, it's changed, it's changed. Maybe it has changed,
Definitely.
but it doesn't matter to the DEP. They've
All right,
determined
that's
that
the
we're
problem.
polluted. So we're polluted.
And let's remember, they're giving us an extra $15 million to make it lower.
That's because you
So,
whined.
Yeah, well, we
It's
needed it.
simple.
Well,
You whine.
Dennis,
You're like impetuous little kids. We need more
Dennis.
money. We need more money.
Dennis,
Well,
we
we did
want
it to
the
help
money
you,
because
to help
we
people
have
that
to
are
do the
residents.
project.
Not helping
We
us.
want the money because we have to do the project. So if we are going to have to do the project, we're trying to reduce the cost to each individual as low as possible.
Do you know where the clean water funds and that DEP money comes from?
Yeah, it comes from tax dollars.
And
Federal,
also, well, state tax dollars.
federal, clean water, I think is just
Yeah,
federal.
it
There
comes
may
from
be
the
some
federal
state.
clean water funds to the state, and the state treasurer uses it. And they're not going to not spend it. They're just not going to spend it on us if we don't claim it.
The state, what they do is if you have MDC right now, you look at your bill, there's something called Eat Clean Water Fund. It is the biggest part of my MDC bill right now. It is the interest that the federal government charges the state to borrow money for clean water funds. That comes billed back to every customer in Connecticut. So that's where the money
there's
comes from.
the money. So they have
Yeah.
this revolving fund, and they'll give us a 2% interest on this fund, and they'll give us a 25% discount or grant. That 25% grant and 2% over 20 years, they equal out if you do the math, because I've done it. So the idea is most of the time the bad debt is the stuff that they have problems with, but it's a replenishing fund for the most part.
It's just
Andrew,
awesome.
you said that.
Yes,
that
John.
was- You said it was Ender's Island?
I did say that.
Okay, ENDERS or something
Yeah,
like that?
it's right next to Mason Island. It's like
Okay.
at the end of Mystic. I just heard that they have a deep approved system. I don't know anything more than that.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, but
I
that
have the
Ender's
name of
Island
the
is one
engineer
building.
from Ender's Island. I will speak to them tomorrow.
Okay. I would, McDeep might have some information. I
So-
mean, I would go to
Because I have
Deep
the
and
name
see
of all
what they're
the
approving.
engineers that deal with southeastern Connecticut,
So
all the way up
have
to
you,
Danielson.
Okay.
have you guys called Deep to find out what
Yes,
they would
I've
approve?
spoken to Amanda Clark, who put me in contact with Matt Pavlik and every engineer that deals with alternative septic systems from Guilford to Stonington. And one of the
So-
companies is
yeah.
based in Rhode Island,
Yeah.
and another one of the companies is based in Old Saybrook.
Right.
So,
Geosystems
in
is the
our
one. in Old Saybrook.
archives.
No, not
it's in-
Geosystems,
No?
Yeah.
not Geosystems, no.
In our archives, we have some PowerPoints of alternative systems that we tried to present, and there were some really good PowerPoint. Rich, they should still be in our archives, right? Correct?
Well, it's
And
in
we
the
did- we-
wastewater plan.
Yeah, we did some field trips, and I remember, I'll try to find them if you want. There were some good PowerPoints.
They're on the website.
Yeah.
They're in the,
So you could see what they wouldn't approve.
well, Dennis, Mary, John, do the research, come up with, it sounds like Dennis, you're on a trail to
Yeah.
identify some systems. Do your work and present your results and see where it goes.
But I definitely would encourage talking to Deep, because we beat our heads against the ground looking at things, and they're like, oh, we would never approve that.
Well,
So-
that's another thing that we'll get to is we had the cherry stones thing where we're gonna
Yeah,
Yeah.
use
yeah.
cherry stones as a huge community leach field and processing plan and the golf course and it was really novel. It technically would work, but the Deep never felt comfortable and eventually told us we're never gonna prove this. We're just gonna have you test it till you run out of money.
Yeah.
I guess I want to say that if the attitude is do what you want, but we're going to go with sewers anyway, because Deep said we're going to go with sewers, I'm not sure why Dennis, John, and I would pursue it.
Well,
I think there's
well-
not an open mind here to accept if we did come up with a valid alternative.
if you
I'd like
came
to
up
know
with,
that there is an open mind here and not just, oh, we're going to come up with sewers, we're going to go with sewers because Deep told us we have to
No.
do sewers.
Mary, if you came up with an alternate design that was economically feasible and the Deep approved, then of course we would have to consider it. I mean, I'm not there to waste your time. You and Dennis for years have said we haven't looked into all of the things, and we've told you in return we have looked into a lot of alternates.
Okay,
But
all
we
right,
were,
thank you.
but
Thank
we
you.
were told by DEP, no, you're going to have to sewer this. That's the most economically feasible alternative to what's going on there to reduce your pollution. So that's where we are as a WPCA and as a town. We're on track to sewer. Unless you come up with some other alternate method that the DEP approves, that's where we're going.
So you're
When
saying,
And-
let's-
and-
one more
and
When
time.
Mary-
DEP first said that sewers were the most efficient and economical,
In
not all,
maybe 2015.
it
They
was
came to a town hall
based on-
meeting and they had two deep,
Andrew,
there was a woman and a man who came and they did a presentation at the town hall. And that's when they kind of,
Well,
put up a-
that's when they verbalized it, but they, in
Yeah.
the report, they approved the wastewater plan, and the wastewater plan report indicates where we are. And that, then the administration order said, do it. That's the
Yeah.
chronological order.
John,
Right,
did you
and-
want to
and-
say something?
Yeah, so Steve, you're saying, let's try one more shot, alternative, and let's just, if there's
I'm
a shot out
fine.
there, let's do one more shot, if that's it.
I'm happy, but the other reason
Yeah.
I wanted everyone, especially you three, to do this project is to see that it's not like we went from, hey, let's put sewers in. We tried different alternatives that have been repeatedly turned down by the DEP. And the only way I feel everyone on the group is going to be convinced that we are going to put in sewers, and it's probably the only option we have, is if you go through this exercise. If you don't
That's
want to
fair.
go through the exercise, that's fine also. But I want everyone to feel as though they've exhausted all the alternative methods that they feel DEP will approve, present them. If we feel they're worthy, then we'll go to the DEP, ask for approval.
Got it.
And I want to apologize if you think we were in any way being negative. We were trying to share some experiences that could kind of save you time in certain areas. I mean, our mission had been sewer avoidance from the start, and most of the town is septic. So we definitely weren't trying to, at least I'll speak for myself, I wasn't trying to shut you down in any way, but just kind of like let you know what we've been through so you don't kind of go down that rabbit hole.
okay, thank you very much for the time, hopefully listening. I do have to go. I have a 3-year-old here that I have to put to bed, so I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
Have fun.
Dennis, I am interested in what these alternate companies would propose down at the beaches with that density. So,
Well, I've spoken to an engineer at Barnstable County on Cape Cod, where they have alternative systems, and that's a bigger area than Somview. Also Suffolk County in Long Island, bigger area doing alternate systems. They've got pollution there too, and they're dealing with it. Spoken with a company in Warwick that has an innovative method, and the leaching field is 10 by 20. It's not a whole backyard or a whole front yard. So I have cursory stuff, but the reason why I asked about funding is because if in fact we have a nitrogen problem, then we have to go after a nitrogen solution. And if that solution is cheaper than sewers for 158 homes and 41 homes in miscellaneous area B, I could give 2 craps about what happens to Miami Beach, Old Colony, and Old Lyme Shores. They're private municipalities. They
So-
signed on to this. And the problem is you guys signed on to it to make their life a lot easier. And
well,
that's,
I
and
don't
that's,
agree. I don't agree with that at all. I don't
The
agree with that.
last
I do.
statement we don't.
That's not true, Dennis. I don't like statements being made that are just not true and based on any fact whatsoever. All right,
Okay,
that's not
question
true.
for you.
We went,
You keep on bringing up cherry stones. Was cherry stones for Soundview only?
yes.
No, it was for Soundview and Miami Beach.
It was a community system for everything.
Yeah, it was
There
for
you
me.
go, but not
It
with
wa- it
Soundview.
was.
Soundview could have been probably worked there. Same
Well,
with Macnick's property
the-
and Beach's property.
I don't
the
I
beach
don't know if
club
I
property.
agree with that, Dennis, because the volume was supposed to be able to handle all the volume of the private beaches, including Hawks Nest. The problem the state has, they worried that it wouldn't be enough to expand, or if the volumes were wrong. That's what all the testing is. So you can imagine the engineers have to sign off on that this is a good system and that all the money that they get is a good system, because the worst thing that could happen is they sign off on it and then the volume overwhelms the system and it won't work. That's why they didn't want to do it.
It was never presented to the state as a Soundview project. That's what I'm saying.
The state doesn't allow us to. So the same reason why the private beach associations were forced to include us in their agreement with East Lyme and put the volume in, they didn't want to put in our volume. They want to do their own thing. The state says you got to have a system that's compatible with the whole area. So we couldn't say we're just going to do Soundview and screw the beaches, and the beaches couldn't say we're just going to do our volume and screw Soundview. The state wouldn't let them do that.
Well, we'll have evidence for you for next month.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank
If
you.
And I
need
would
to
like
reach
to
out-
bring, I would like to have the opportunity to bring guests also.
Well, if you
Well,
need to
just-
reach out to any of us, let us know if we can help you.
If-
I don't know. What do you say about guests? I don't,
Right. So Dennis, if you want guests, you'll have to inform me before the
Yes,
meeting,
that's-
obviously.
That's fine.
And I mean, anyone can chair the group. Just keep in mind that you're the only sitting member.
That's fine.
know.
I understand that. John understands it. Mary understands it.
Okay.
But if Corey and Brad aren't there, they're speaking for them. They have the opportunity to speak to whoever's missing, who is a member missing. Like Rob and Randy and Brad or Andrea.
I'm actually here,
If they're all,
Dennis.
if they're not here that night, then they're allowed to speak in their
Oh,
absence.
yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. Now I understand. That's why we have alternates, is because we want continuation
sure.
and we want, so, I'm just saying, the next thing on the agenda is, I think, correspondence. Well, is new business. Is that
Thank you
it,
for your
Dennis,
work.
on your report? John, do you want to add anything to what
No,
Mary
no,
and John?
Again, I'm new to it. I'm trying to learn. We've got good clarification tonight about what you want to see, and we'll do it.
Okay, I'm
Thank you for
sorry if I
meeting.
was unclear in the past.
No, it's fine. We didn't waste any time.
So now there's I don't have any new business really. That's the next thing on the agenda. I can't think of anything new. Maybe next month we might have some new stuff. I don't have any correspondence. I got a notification in the mail from to update Carmody. Not even update, it was from the septic pumper, and that was handed to Erica, I believe, scanned to Erica by Katie. And now we bring up public comment. So on public comment, you can make comments. I'll recognize you, unmute yourself. You can make a comment, try to make it concise. and relevant, and that's about it. We don't normally, it's not normally a discussion. You just make your comment, and if we want to reply, we may. So does anyone want to speak? There's a couple of people out there that I see, one ending in 44, one at 860-508. I don't know if they want to speak, or 860-625. Unmute yourself. All right, well, not hearing any requests for public comment, I'm going to close public comment. The next thing is, may we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion
make a
to
motion
adjourn.
to
That was-
Oh,
that was
I'll
like
give
1,
Dimitri
2,
the
and 3.
motion and I'll give Andrea the second. Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Thank you, Steve.
thanks.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. This is interesting.
Good night.
How about now?